Shante, I was wondering if you could just maybe speak a bit about the ego.
Ego is the enjoyer and sufferer. Our mind is working on the basis of thoughts. Thoughts, when it comes up, immediately there will be a program following the thought, which is the analytical program. For analysis, it we can choose further informations from the memory. And then it discriminates. After analysis, there happens a program. And that program is called the what we call the judgment or synthesis. And this is done by the intellect according to the yogic system. So the analytical part of the mind is called manas in Sanskrit, which is the analytical mind. Deeper than the analytical mind, there is the discriminative mind, which is the intellect. Intellect does the discrimination, by discriminating between what is good, what is not good, what is right, what is not right, what is useful, what is not useful. And this is done by the intellect. And when the intellect does it and say that it is good, then you feel happy. And if it says it is not good, it is not right, you feel upset. And this sufferer and enjoyer part of the mind is considered as the ego in the yogic concept of ego. So it is like an innocent child. It only knows how to enjoy and suffer. It's not a dangerous thing. When you hear the word ego, it seems that it is such a bigger troublemaker. It simply does this. It enjoys and it suffers. But the problem is, we get identified with this, the enjoyer and the sufferer. When we get identified with the enjoyer and sufferer, we try to hold on that moment. If something joyful happened in your life, you will hold on and you feel proud about itself. Proud about that understanding that came to you through your enjoyment and your suffering. So you know now what is suffering, what is enjoyment. So you feel proud about that particular knowledge that came to you through your experience of enjoying and suffering. And we will not leave it, we hold on. And so this part of holding the enjoyment and suffering creates a lot of troubles. Otherwise, the ego is very simple, like a small innocent child. He only knows enjoyment and suffering. He can smile and he can cry. And that is not a big issue because that is the essence of our life also. When something beautiful happens, we feel joyful. Something not great is happening to us, we feel little depressed. So ego is this according to the yogic concept. And then when you hold on that moment, as I said before, and feeling proud about itself, any challenge that comes to that pride that you are holding becomes a bigger issue for you. That means you start to feel that you are challenged. Your understanding is challenged. And we feel that this understanding is so big because after a long program, we get into this understanding. It is good or it is not good, it is joyful or not joyful, and you have celebrated it for a while, and then you hold on that celebration, and you feel proud about that celebration because I know what it is. And this feeling is constantly challenged. When we live in this world, we are constantly challenged in this area. When a challenge comes, we feel really troubled. So there is something which believes very deep inside ourselves, we believe that I am my understanding. And this deeper core, which is called, in Sanskrit there is a word called Chit, the identified self. So ego is making this enjoyment and suffering and leading it to identification. And then the person gets identified and he believes that I am this knowledge. And that is the identified self. And we hold on that self. And we are not ready to sacrifice this self. So ego in association with the identified self creates a lot of troubles. Troubles in the sense it gives a lot of restlessness and lack of calmness, and thereby we will get lost of our vision. This aspect is not letting us see things as they are. When you feel proud about something based on your experience, you keep this experience, which is actually given to you by your ego. And then when the next experience is coming, we project this experience on that and you try to evaluate that. As this program is continuously on, we are never relaxed. We try to hold on this. And then we try to protect this identified self. And that is what we call as our self. And deeper than that is the pure self, which is the witness, which is not involved in any of these programs, which is always free, which is never in bondage. But as we are associating ourselves with the bonded area of the identification with the self, due to the pleasures and pain that we experienced, and the knowledge that is the cause of that, will always be kept in, we wanted to keep it intact. And we are not ready to surrender it. Unless we surrender this, we will never be absolutely calm and peaceful. We are very preoccupied all the time. With the preoccupation, when you see something, as I was saying, we project that preoccupied idea into what you see. And then you try to understand the thing based on your preoccupations, your prejudices. As we do this, we are never free in our knowledge formulation. So our knowledge becomes the cause of suffering. And when the suffering comes, the ego is doing the suffering. And then the whole being starts to feel very sad and bad. Because the identified self feels proud about the joy that he gains and feel not that good on the suffering part of living. Both are part of the same continuum, but we always wanted to be in the realm of calmness and joy. And as I was saying yesterday, it is not possible unless we explore very deeply to understand this. It's impossible for us to get out of this scheme. So far we are in this scheme, we are bonded in the scheme. We are never free. And we are looking for freedom, but we never look at the source of the issue to understand the scheme in which our mind system is working. So ego is actually not a very dangerous thing. It is like a simple child, enjoying and suffering everything. If something joyful happens, you see something beautiful, you become joyful. When you see something bad and when you feel that you are getting into trouble, you start to feel very bad and sad. This is the part of the mind which is considered as ego in the yogic tradition. But generally, in the normal ideas, we associate the ego with our pride. So pride is the feeling that I know this. So ego has moved towards identification. Ego as it is not a problem, but the identification creates the problem. Otherwise, enjoying and suffering, what is the problem in it? There is no problem. That allows you to enjoy, and it allows also you to suffer. And from that, you understand something. But our problem is we are not focused completely on anything that is happening because of the prejudices and preoccupations. And our knowledge remains partial and we will never be satisfied. Joy comes from proper understanding. So in proper understanding, we have to understand the instrument of understanding, which is the mind. Unless we understand the instrument of knowing, we will not be able to get mastery over ourselves. And then we get control over the ego, control over the analytical program, control over the intellectual program of discrimination of right and wrong, and also catch hold of the identified self to drop the self. And for that, we need proper focusing, proper understanding, or proper focusing. Through proper focusing, you will understand. That is why in my meditation, I always ask you to don't go for analysis. Why to drag the past into this moment? To synthesize a knowledge and feel proud about it. This knowledge will change tomorrow. Useless. It only creates some kind of ignorance. So knowledge cannot be called as true knowledge and partial knowledge. Knowledge is knowledge. And to get there, we have to focus completely without dragging things from the past to analyze, discriminate, make judgments, enjoy, suffer, identify. And in this program, the whole program is a program of ignorance because it is dragging things from the partial knowledge which is evaluated or made from past experiences which has no relevance in this present moment. Even in small matters, like you may see a snake and you get so upset of the snake and you jump and you may get a heart attack even by seeing the snake because of this past information. Otherwise, it's a beautiful animal. And by our excitement, we may make them also excited. But it has certain uses. These systems are all meant for particular uses. Like for example, you see fire and you know if you get into the fire, you will burn. And so it has some utility, some purpose that you have to avoid jumping into the fire. That kind of particular, support is given by all this system for maintenance of life. But when it comes to understanding, if we are looking for proper understanding, full understanding, fully focused knowledge, fully focused view of things to understand and get into the absolute knowledge, certainly you need to have a tremendous focus. And for that focus, we cannot go for analysis and synthesis, which is all based on the past. The past information excites you. It won't let you see things as they are. When you don't see anything fully focused, then how will you know what you are doing? And so far we are not aware of what we are doing, we are in ignorance. Ignorance always places a person in the dual state of pain, pleasure, continuum, and never possible to get into the experience of bliss. Ego is looking for pleasure. By proper investigation and proper focusing, you can cross and get into the realm of bliss. The experience of bliss comes to a person by dropping all these programs, not holding on these programs. So if you hold on this process of dragging past experiences to analyze what is going on, then making discrimination and judgment and feel proud and become joyful and feel proud about it, and then identify with that and feel that you are that. It's all part of a big program of ignorance. The other is you are simply staying whatever is there, just looking and being with that. Thereby, your mind starts to rest completely with the object which is presented before you, or the situation in which you are. No process is happening, just simply witnessing. When you are fully witnessing, you will witness the mind, the intellect, the ego, the chit, all the inner mechanism, and you master over it. Thereby, the ego cannot take over you. The identified self cannot project its pride to create the life a misery, and dragging all the past into the present moment to contaminate the present living moment into a dead system. All these things are part of ignorance. And so that is why it is so important for a person to focus, fully focus, without letting the past come and attach with this present moment, which is a very live moment. Thereby, when the ego is trying to create the pleasure, you will understand. Oh, now you are trying. And when it wants to suffer, you understand. Now you are trying that. And so now you remain as the witness, seeing the whole program of the mind. And that is the mastery that a person gets into when he is fully focused in his life, which is called meditation. Meditation is not 20 minutes sitting there, closing the eyes and doing something. It is fully focused life is called meditation. And so when we meditate like that, life becomes meditation, and you understand all these operations of the mind that leads us to ignorance, of which the ego is playing a great role because it enjoys and suffers. When we enjoy, we identify with that. And then we look for a further moment of enjoyment. Or we look for avoidance of a moment of suffering. How preoccupied we are. This is the work the ego is doing. And so ego will be, all the inner instrument will be under surveillance. Thereby they cannot move anything. They cannot do anything. They rest completely, that your mind will be fully charged with the life potential. That is what happens. And you will be fully charged being and not focusing your energy into the small game which is played by the ego or the intellect. And then you will be a full-fledged being. And you understand everything. Whatever presented before you, you will see the whole program of the mind in analyzing, in making judgments, in feeling joyful or suffering out of that experience or identification. Everything you see, every moment, a small thing will show the big operation of your mind. It will be very clear for you. This is what the mind is. Then the operation of the mind for you is an enjoyment. It is a completely different enjoyment. By seeing the drama that is played by the mind, you enjoy that drama which is played by the mind. You are not affected. You see, this is the program. So you remain as the witness of the mind. Thereby, all these systems which are having certain utilities, they will not run over your life. Ego is important because it shows what is good, it shows what is pleasurable, what is not pleasurable. If it is pleasurable, you look for pleasure, you bind yourself with the moment of pleasure and try to recreate the moment again. Never the same moment recur in our life. But our attempt is to recreate a moment which is already gone, if it has given some kind of joy. In this program, we keep ourselves in constant, ignorance. Of which ego is playing a great role. When you understand this, you will enjoy your ego. You will enjoy your intellect. It's like small funny story. Funny things the children are playing. The mind is like a small funny child doing all kinds of things. And you enjoy the game as you see your children are playing. And you see your mind is playing in this way. And you enjoy. That is a great enjoyment for you. You remain as the witness. When slowly these mechanisms drops one by one, finally the perception will be closing down and you remain as the witness. And then the story finished. And the witness continue. Thank you.